Today we're talking about solving two-step equations and writing them. To solve two-step equations, you perform order of operations in reverse. For example, you can use a model to describe this particular situation. You have 2x plus 3 equaling 7. And in this case, you have 2 x's and 3 integers, and that equals 7 integers. So you're trying to pair them up. So you first take away 3 from both sides. So get rid of these and get rid of these. Now we have 2 x's equaling 4. So we can group them. An x is 2 and this x is 2. So we have x equaling 2. That's one way. That can get kind of tedious though, drawing that every time. So instead we use algebraic symbols. For example, we do similar to one-step equations, and we start with our integers that were added or subtracted on. So I'm going to take this positive 3 away from both sides, lining it up. Remember, you can also put in your lines. So if I drew them like this, it keeps me in order. And then I have 2x equaling 4. So take the 2x and divide by 2 on both sides, and you get x equals 2. You can plug that back in then to check your work. So 2 times 2 plus 3 should equal 7. And 2 times 2 is 4 plus 3 equals 7. So 7 equals 7, and it works. All right, you try these two, and I'll be back in just a second to show you what I did. Okay, so we're going to first take the 2 away from both sides. Then we're going to divide by 3 on both sides. So x equals 6. Plug it back in to check your work. So 3 times 6 is 18 plus 2 is 20, and 20 equals 20. Over here we're going to take the 5 away from both sides first. Oops, I forgot my lines again. So then we're going to divide by 2, and we get n equaling a negative 3. Plug it back in, and we take 2 times the negative 3, which gives us a negative 6. We add to that 5, and remember to keep your parentheses there because two signs next to each other looks awkward. So different signs, this is a positive, this is a negative, so it's negative 1 equals negative 1, and both of these checked. Okay, so what if we have fractions in here as well? Make sure that you start with by rewriting it and taking the 3 away from both sides, or excuse me, adding 3 to both sides because it's a negative. And when you do that, you get 28 equals 1/4 n. Then what we're going to do is we're going to use our inverses, and we flip and we multiply by 4 over 1, which really you don't need the over 1, it's just 4. So when we multiply, we get 4 times 28, which is 112 equaling n. You can go ahead and plug that back in, so you get 1/4 times 112 minus 3 equals 25. And when you take 1/4 and simplify it, take 112 divided by 4, and you get 28 minus 3 equals 25, and that gives us 25 equaling 25. Okay, go ahead and try these two, and I'll be back in just a second to show you the answers. Okay, so the first step is to get rid of the integers in both of them. So I'm left with 1/2 a equals a negative 10. I multiply by 2 over 1, or just 2 in this case, because over 1 is simplified to 2, and I get a negative 20. If we check this, a 1/2 times a negative 20 is a negative 10, and negative 1 equals a negative 10 plus 9, because negative 1 equals negative 1, so it checks. Over here we took away, or we have a negative 5, so let's add 5. So we're left with 2/5 on this side and 12 on this side. Then we're going to multiply by 5 halves, and so we get 30, because if we simplify the 12 and the 2, this becomes a 6, and 6 times 5 is 30. We can plug it back in to check our work. So I simplify this and I get 5 goes into 36 times, goes into itself once, so 2 times 6 is 12, and 12 minus 5 is 7. So 7 equals 7. Okay, let's try this one. We first have to get rid of the integer, so we're going to take the 6 away from both sides. And I'm left with a negative 3x equaling 15. Now we have a negative 3 attached to the x through multiplication, so we're going to divide by a negative 3, and we get x equals a negative 5. That's going to be our answer. To check my work, I'm going to plug it back in. So in for x goes the negative 5, and I have 6 minus 3 times a negative 5, and that actually is a positive 15 when you simplify. So because that's a not, 3 times 5 is 15, and a negative, so I get 21 equals 21. Okay, so let's look at this one. Chicago's lowest recorded temperature in degrees Fahrenheit is negative 27. Solve the equation to convert from 2 degrees in Celsius. So what we need to first do is we need to take and solve for C. So we're going to take the 32 away from both sides, and we're left with negative 59 equaling 1.8 or 1 8/10 times C. So now we divide by 1.8 and we get negative 32.8 equaling C. We can check our work by plugging it back in. So I'm going to multiply these, and remember it's an approximate, so we're going to go to the nearest hundredth. It's actually, when I multiply it, 59.04, but that simplifies to negative 59. Add 32, and that does in fact give us a negative 27, so it works. Okay, so writing two-step equations. How do we come up with something like that if they gave us a situation? Go ahead and copy this slide down for me in your notebooks. There are 3 steps to writing it. First, you describe the situation, okay? Then you define the variables, and then you translate it. Go ahead and simplify some of these in your notebook. You don't have to write down every single thing. Okay, so here's how we do it. If I have 8 less than 3 times the number is negative 23, then I'm going to let the n represent the number. 8 less, that means I'm taking 8 away from 3 times an unknown number. And is in math means equal to, so that's equals a negative 23. So when I write it, it looks like this. 3n minus 8 equals negative 23. 13 is 7 more, so I'm adding 7 plus 7, then 1/5 of means multiply in math, a number. So let n represent it. So I'm taking 1/5 of a number and I'm adding 7 more to it. So this is our final answer. Go ahead and try these for me, and I'll be back in just a second to show you what I did. Okay, so 15 equals 3 more than 6 times a number. So when you put it together, 15 should equal 6n plus 3 more. 10 is increased by the quotient. Quotient means divide, and we always use a fraction bar of a number in 6, and that is 5. So when we do that one, it should look like this. 10 plus the quotient of n divided by 6 equaling 5. The difference between 12 and 2/3 of a number is 18. So the difference means minus, and you're going to subtract 12 minus 2/3 of a number, and it equals 18. What if it's in context? You buy 3 books that cost the same amount and a magazine for all of them for $55.99. You know the magazines cost $1.99. How much does each book cost? So you have 3 unknown amounts plus $1.99 equaling $55.99. 3 books in a magazine, so let's let B equal the cost of 1 book. So 3 books plus $1.99 equaling $59.99. So let's solve it. Take the magazine away, and we're left with 3 books equaling $54. That gives us then division, which means we divide by 3, and we're left with each book equaling $18. So you could even check your work to make sure that together they equal $55.99. So we write the equation and then we solve it. So let's try this one. A personal trainer buys a weight bench for $500 and W weights for $24.99 each. The total cost of the purchase is $849.86. How many weights were purchased? See if you can do this one, and I'll be back in just a second to show you what I did. Okay, so the first step is to figure out what you're doing with this bench. It's the bench plus the weights. And if you don't know the weights, then let's use W for them. So we've got our bench, which is $500, and then each weight is our W times $24.99. So there's our equation. Okay, we don't even need that little multiplication dot anymore. We can just write it like this. So let's take the $500 away, and we know that just for the weights alone, we are paying $24.99, and they're costing us $349.86. So if we divide by 24 on both sides, we're left with 14 weights. So we purchased 14. Okay, go ahead and try these, and I'll be back in just a second to show you what I did. Okay, grab your red pen. For A, we write the equation. It starts at 54 degrees. The temperature is rising 2.5 per hour, and the final temperature is 84 degrees. So take the 54 away, and we know that in 2.5 hours, we have to rise 30 degrees. Divide by 2.5 hours, and you get 12 total. And let's label it with our hours. Okay, for B, you have the quotient of a number and 5, so this is how it looks. So, and you're taking 10 away. So we're adding 10 to both sides, and we get n divided by 5 equaling 13. So you got to multiply by 5 on both sides, and you get 65. On C, it's 1/4 of a number and take 7 less, and you get a -1. So add 7 to both sides, and we have 1/4 n equaling 6. So use the reciprocal and multiply, which means you're just multiplying by 4, and 6 times 4 is 24. That's all I have for you today. See you next time.